Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today is my spring reset in a way. I'm going to go over the 15 books that are going to be on my spring TBR, and then we will update the spring layout of my reading journal. So I will be putting, one page is the upcoming releases over March, April, and May that I'm looking forward to. If you haven't seen that video, I did go over those books in detail. I think it came out about a week ago. And then the other page is the books that we're about to talk about. So I do put those on their own spread so that I can follow them throughout the 3 months of that season. First, we're gonna go over the books and then we'll go do the journal. So I pick 15 books every 3 months that I wanna read within that season. Sometimes they are like books that just feel right for the season. Sometimes they're books that I really am just like, I need an extra push to get myself to read them. I do tend to read the books that I tell myself I'm going to read within those months because that's just how my brain works. But this is kind of a mix of all of that. Some of them I know like over the next few months that this is what I want my TBRs to look like, so that is why I chose them. But other ones I'm like, I just want to make sure that I have a variety of books that I'm pushing myself to read a little bit more than some of the other ones on my TBR. We'll just get started then. First, I have Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. This is what we would consider like a historical fiction, literary fiction. I'm not 100% sure. It does take place in the 1970s, so I guess that would be, at this point, historical fiction, as much as that pains me to say. But this follows two best friends who, over their 30 years of friendship, and then there happens to be an unexpected betrayal that tears them apart, and it puts their friendship and trust to the ultimate test. This is a Netflix show. I've never seen the show. There is a second book, I think, in this series as well. I think it's just like 2 books, but I really just want to get started on this one. I have liked both of the Kristen Hanna books that I've read. They were both 5-star reads. I don't anticipate all of her books being that for me, but even if I enjoy this one like half as much as the other ones, I'm gonna love it. So that's number 1. Then I have A Man Called Ove. I'm not exactly sure how you'd say it, but this is by Frederick Bachman, and this is like a literary fiction, I think, as well, or just general fiction book about a grumpy old man who thinks himself surrounded by idiots. I really don't actually know what it's about other than it's just his life and that he's like a grumpy man. This is also a movie that was filmed actually in my hometown, and I believe with Tom Hanks. So I have been wanting to read a lot of his books this year. This may or may not be my first one I read by him. I do have the ARC copy to My Friends by him, and I may read that before this one. It just depends on when I select it. I have one horror that I've placed. I try to place like one horror every few months just to get myself through my Stephen King collection, and I chose Cujo for this. It is about a dog that I think goes like rabid and attacks his family. That's really all I know. And I do know how this ends because I just know how Cujo ends. I've never seen the movie, but I do know how it ends. So looking forward to this. That's all I really know about it. That's all I really want to know. There's probably some weird, I don't want to say magical realism, but there's probably some weird magical element to it that I just don't know about yet either. Then I have Riley Sager's Home Before Dark, and this is about a girl who moves into this house, Victorian estate in Vermont, and then they end up fleeing in the middle of the night, an ordeal that her father later put into a nonfiction book called House of Horrors. And she is now a restorer of old homes, but doesn't really remember anything that happens in that book, but then she also doesn't really believe it. So she inherits this hall after her father dies, and she returns to renovate it, and then things start to happen. So kind of like the Amityville Horror in popularity and skepticism, it says, but it's going to be like, I think, a haunted house situation, which should be interesting. I enjoy Riley Sager's books, some more than others, but I have like this and one other one left to read before his With a Vengeance comes out this summer. And then this is one of the 2 Megan Miranda books I have left to read as well before her next one comes out, and this is The Last to Vanish. This is about a girl that lives in a small North Carolina town called Cutter's Pass along the Appalachian Trail, and there's this vanishing trail in that town where multiple visitors have vanished over the past 3 decades, and then a journalist comes to investigate the story of it and then disappears himself. So the town is thrust back into the spotlight, and then after months without any leads, our main character sees that this journalist's brother checks into this inn one evening, which is what she manages, and they, I think, start to uncover evidence and everything, and she realizes like maybe she doesn't know everything about the small town that she's lived in and the people that she's known for her whole life. So again, I enjoy Megan Miranda's book. She's one of my favorite thriller authors, so looking forward to that one. And I think all I have left by her is Such a Quiet Place. So I'll get to that soon too. Then I have Sally Hepworth's Darling Girls. This came out, I think, early last year, and this is about 3 foster siblings who lived with this woman, Miss Fairchild, and she was like a lovely, loving foster mother. But I guess everything wasn't as it seems. So then years later, a body is found underneath the house that they all grew up in together, and they're thrust back into the spotlight as people that may know what happened, or even like suspects in what happened. But I've heard good things about this. I've read one other book by Sally Hepworth, The Soulmate, and it was okay. Read more literary than it did thriller, so I'm not sure if that's how this will read as well, but we shall see. Then I have one sci-fi book, and that is Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. This is the second book in the Renegade series. I read Renegades a long time ago, a few months ago, and have been wanting to finish it, just never. I just bought this book because I didn't have it to continue the series. So this follows Nova, who is part of a like rebel vigilante, I guess, superhero group, and then Adrian, who is part of the Renegades, who are the like good guys. And we see them face off in the last one, and you're kind of learning secrets about both organizations, and maybe not everything as it seems. So this is the sequel to that. And I think there's going to be a little bit of a love story between the two of them as well. But first one was really cute, hoping that the rest of the series follows that. I'm not expecting it to be like a 5-star series for me, but I do want to see how it concludes. Then I want to start Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. So this is the first book in the Sacred Stones trilogy by her, and it is complete, so I should be able to get through this by the end of the year if I read this one early enough. I don't know much about this other than like everybody loves it. So it's captured by the King of Darkness. She was forced to find the light within. Arwen never expected to be the brave one, offering her life to save her brothers. Now she's taken prisoner by the most dangerous kingdom on the continent and made to use her rare magical abilities to heal soldiers of the vicious Onyx King. She knows better than to face the ancient wicked woods that surround the castle on her own, which means working with a fellow prisoner might be her only path to freedom. Unfortunately, he's as infuriating as he is cunning, and he seems to take twisted pleasure on playing on Arwen's deepest fears. Enemies to lovers. I've heard great things, and like I said, it's a completed trilogy, so it's a good time to start it now that I could just get through the whole thing if I like the first one. I have The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig, and this is about a girl named Hazel who is the 13th child in a family and spends her childhood waiting for her benefactor, Merrick, the god of death, to arrive and take her away. So then she is tasked with ending people's sufferings when she sees that death has claimed them. But then she is haunted by the ghost that she has killed, so she longs to run away. But destiny brings her to the royal court, where she meets Leopold, a rakish prince with a disdain for everyone and everything. And that's where Hazel faces her biggest dilemma yet. Should she save the life of a king marked to die? She knows what she's meant to do and what her heart is urging her toward, but what will happen if she goes against the will of death himself? So I've heard great things about this. This was a book that Book of the Month actually did as like a second chance kind of thing in December. And I had my eye on it before then, and when I saw that it was the option, this immediately was what I decided to choose. And I think this is YA, so very excited for that one. So then I have Ona Out of Order by Margarita Montemore. And this follows a woman who is like I think it's like the 80s, she's on the cusp of her 19th birthday and has to make all these decisions about her life and where she sees herself going forward, and then wakes up and is now like 51 years old. It's 30-some years in the future, 32 years in the future, and she's 51, and it's at that point in her life. So she's like kind of seeing where she would be at that point in her life, and then every time she wakes up, she's at a different point in her life. So she is still a young woman on the inside, but ever-changing on the outside. Who will she be next year? Philanthropist, club kid, world traveler, wife to a man she's never met. So I'm not sure. I know this is like magical realism, but it's an unforgettable story about the burdens of time, the endurance of love, and the power of family. It was a Good Morning America book club pick, and I think it's actually rated pretty well. So I got this at, I want to say like Ollie's, and I just haven't read it yet. This is one of the oldest books on my TBR, so that is why I put it there. I want to read it. It just is never something I'm reaching for, so that's why it's on this TBR. And now on to the 5 romance books I have selected. First is Catch Me by Alexia Chase. I am not sure that I'm going to like this because I think it is Best Friend's father. It's a little taboo, and I don't know. I may not like it, but I did just read Credence and enjoyed that more than I thought I would, so who the heck knows? But that is essentially what it is. We follow London and Callan, and it is Best Friend's father or daughter's best friend, depending on whose point of view you're looking at. Then I have Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. And this is, I've heard many, many times compared to Binding 13, the Boys of Tommen series, but this is a hockey captain and a figure skater. Hockey captain during the Frozen 4 in the previous year took a brutal hit that left him with a concussion and a new discomfort on the ice. So he's plagued by nightmares and panic attacks every time he attempts to skate, and he wonders if he'll ever play again or if he'll ever want to. Sadie is stayed focused this semester no matter what, currently drowning in debt, custody hearings for her younger brothers, and skating practices. She's just trying to make it to the next day. A Spitfire figure skater known for her bad attitude and frequent disappearing acts, she has a reputation on campus, and it's not a pretty one. So she accidentally witnesses Reese's. There have been so many books lately that I have seen that use that name for a man. And I don't know if it started after ACOTAR or whatever, but we need a new name, everyone. Anyway, she witnesses one of his panic attacks, and a weird sort of understanding strikes up between them. No questions asked, just comfort. They take comfort in each other. I don't know if it becomes just like a physical relationship for that, or if they do become friends before that. I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard great things about it. And then Unloved just released in February. Like, it released this month at some point. So that is the second book in this, and it follows a different couple. So we shall see. I'm really looking forward to this, and I want to kind of read that probably early on because it's still hockey season. Then I have The Partner Plot by Christina Forrest. This is the second book in the Green Sisters series, which is a trilogy. Follows The Neighbor Favor, and this is the middle sister, and it is a second chance romance with her high school sweetheart, and they get married in Vegas. I'm not sure if it's intentional or unintentional, but after they do that, they kind of have to, they see that both of their careers may benefit from the impulsiveness. So it says impulsiveness, so maybe it was intentional. Can they play the part of a blissfully wedded couple? Their passion comes hurling back when they realize their feelings are just as real as when they were teens. But are their lives too different to stick it out, or are they finally going to get a happy ending? So I really enjoyed The Neighbor Favor. And then The Love Lyric, I think, is the third book, also comes out in February this month. And that will be the final book in this. So I wanted to make sure this was on my TBR for the next few months so that I can finish out this series by the end of the year as well. Then I have Never by Jessa Hastings. This is a Peter Pan reimagining with Captain Hook as the love interest with Wendy. And I've heard some people absolutely hate this book, but then more recently, I've seen a few people read it that loved it. So I don't know how I'm going to feel. I don't know what side I'm going to land on. I think it is more of like a darker romance, perhaps. It may be a little bit of a love triangle too, because it does seem like there is part of this that is like Peter is the love interest at one point too. I wanted this for a while, and I just didn't want to pay for like full price. Honestly, I didn't want to pay full price for it after I saw so many people dislike it, but the cover was gorgeous. It caught my eye as soon as it came out, and then it was on Book Outlet, so that's when I picked it up. So I'm gonna give it a shot. We'll see. And then finally, I have this tome, which is Nora Roberts' Irishborn, and it is a trilogy. So this is all 3 books bound into one. I think I'm gonna count it as one book. I'm not 100% sure. I got this at a library sale, and I do like Nora Roberts' romances. I have yet to read this month, but I'm going to be reading Year One, which is a fantasy by her. So we'll see how I like that, but I have read a few of her romances before. Most notably, I remember reading The Bride Quartet by her, which is like a group of friends that have this like wedding business together, and they all have a different part of it, but it's been years since I read that. So I think this is about brothers. Nope, sisters. Siblings. So it is Maggie, Brianna, and Thomas Concannon. And I think they're all just like based on like the fact that they're Irish. With that last name, I'm assuming they're Irish. And I do want to read this in March because it is St. Patrick's Day in that month. This is technically a series, but I will be starting and finishing it within one book, so it may fit in with my plans for March, which is to put books on my TBR that will get me further in series that I'm in. Granted, I wanted to keep it to ones I'd already started, but I really did want to read this around St. Patrick's Day, and I've been holding on to it for that exact reason, so I think I'm still going to try to shove this one into March as well. We'll see how that plays out. So those are the 15 books that I plan on reading in the next 3 months, as well as other ones, but those are the ones that I'm putting as priority TBR books. That's all for this part of it, so then we'll go now and update the reading journal. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing now is in my journal I have a spring spread that I've already kind of built in, but I still have to add in the new releases, and then my 15 books on my TBR for the next 3 months. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll just kind of show you what it looks like when it's done. There's really not much else to go over other than what it looks like. Again, if you missed my spring releases video, that should have been up about a week ago from the time you're seeing this. And then we just went over the 15 books on the TBR. I'm gonna speed through this so that you don't have to sit here and watch me take however long this is going to take to go through it. all done. So new releases are on this side, and then I put the 15 books on this side. And if you've seen my journal videos before, January is not complete, or winter is not completely done, but this is what the winter TBR looks like. And as I read the books that are on my most anticipated releases, I do highlight them off. And then as I read the books on my TBR, I put the book cover over them. So hopefully by the end of each season, there'll be 15 book covers there that say that I've read all of those. So that is it for this video. Let me know in the comments below what books you're looking forward to coming out spring, and also what books you are putting at a priority reading level for the spring season. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far, and I hope to see you all in the next video.